people, we are live. Tandem Nation, we are live on a very rare occasion. I usually don't like to do this, but I'm feeling generous today. And you know, people have been asking what's up with a tune on the E30 BMW. I said, you know what, let's try to get something going. You know, it's not the end all be all. What we're going to do here today is just get you a good baseline. You can configure it to how you particularly want it. Just so you know, I'm on a wheel, so if you're on a controller, things could be different. You know, I'm using the clutch. If you listen very closely, you can hear the clutch kicks, using a bit of handbrake, you know, so on and so on. So things may be a little different with your application if you're on a controller. But you should be able to get a good baseline if you're struggling with the E30, and we'll kind of talk a bit about the tune and go through it here, and yeah, let's see what goes on. First, we'll take a look. If you haven't seen so far, that is my abomination of a bucket missile E30. As you see, it is tattered, battered, and very representative of a weekend warrior. So we're gonna bring it back out here. Let's get you a replay real quick. I just did a couple of quick laps, tried not to screw up too much, and just to kind of show, you know, what's going on here. So, and we start at the beautiful Tascuba circuit. Yes, we did get that in the update, as you do know. A very familiar site. So, you know, basically, when I first drove the car, if you haven't seen that video, you can check it out. I have the initial stock drive that I did in it, and I just felt it out just to see what was going on. And to me, it felt like the front end was gripping a little hard. There was definitely a lack of traction in the rear, but the front end was really planted. Felt like it had a lot of weight over the front end, and the car was wanting to swing around itself. You come across these cars sometimes that they just want to pendulum around themselves. They want to, you know, swing around like a top, and you can kind of get a feel for if it's coming from the front or the back. You know, get a feel for the balance of the car, and that's what ends up happening. Is you're trying to balance the car out. At least that's what's happening in my mindset. I'm trying to get it balanced out, neutralized, and then put some traction down. You know, to get the power down. But yeah, with this car, it seemed like it was anchored in the front, and the back end was just coming around. So first thing I started to do was starting to kind of roll out some of the traction in the front. You know, as some of you may know, you don't need a ton of front traction. That's not a very good thing. You want a little bit of understeer going on there. You want the tires to track and slide a little bit in the front, not too much. So I went on ahead and did that evened it out nicely, and then I went on ahead and worked on some rear traction, and it's still a work in progress, but it's pretty decent right now. Like I said, you guys can take it to the moon, see what you can do with it. Maybe you guys have a whole new tune, you know. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll just take it from there. Actually, I'll give you guys an interior view here. You know, we don't see too much interior views on here. I need to get back to driving on interior. I usually drive on the hood now just for more visibility, but interior used to be my thing. Definitely want to get back to that. But yeah, it feels, you know, nice and neutral. Like I said, I got some things to work out. I took the turn off here just for old time's sake. Those that remember GT5, GT6 used to like to take the turn off under the Dunlop Bridge. So we come around here. This is pretty much going to be the final corner before I gave up the gander and flew off into oblivion. Yeah, so it's getting around decently. It's not flopping around too much. It's not oversteering like crazy, and yeah. So that'll be the end of that. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, we'll go ahead and take a look at the tune. And like I said, I'll be very interested to know. Make sure you like and subscribe, turn on your notifications, and comment and let me know what you think of the tune. What has been your findings? Did you make any alterations? This is the first time I'm gonna do like a open tune setup. We like to run comps and do things, so we don't like to share the tunes too much. But this is such a fun car, that I just couldn't help it. People have been asking, and yeah, let's see what's going on. So straight in, we'll see what's going on. And I did test this against some of the other cars that were out in the field. I just went around online and ran it up against a couple cars just to see where it stood, and that's what led me to making a few changes from the initial situation that I had going. I went on ahead. As you know, we're going max power here. It's only got 394 horsepower, but that's about right. That's enough for nice amount of fun. We don't need to be doing FD out here or anything like that in this car. So we're all the way up on that. And when we get to weight reduction, I went on ahead and went down. I had noticed some of the other cars were down. They had a little more acceleration, so I went on ahead and went down. For now, it's maxed out all the way at the bottom, but I'm going to play with that. We're going to see what's going on. Weight is an important factor in these tunes. It isn't always a drop the weight to nothing situation, but just for now, works out, so roll with that. Of course, traction control is off. If you notice, you get a lot of cars that come with traction control on now in the drift tune setup, with the traction control on 1, and I have noticed just testing that out that the cars are more controllable with that, of course, because it's cutting the power. Definitely though, it's gonna hurt you in certain areas when you need the acceleration, but you play that by ear, how you do it. If you want it on, if it helps you control the car or not, that's up to you. I'm rolling with it full off. We're on comfort hards just because that's the most popular tire. If anybody has been around long enough, myself and my teammate Lex and everybody else, we drive in real life, so we like to try to have it feel a little more realistic, and the comfort hard tire really traditionally doesn't feel like the tires we're on in real life. It's really slippery. It's really slick. A lot of times people think, and developers think, that the slicker it is, the more it slides, that's what drifting is all about. It's just no traction at all. Just and don't get me wrong, we can get traction on hards. It's just the fact that you're starting from something that's like driving on plastic crates, and that's literally how it feels to us. Now some drivers might have a different opinion. Hey, but to us, that's it feels like it's far below the average tire, even throwaways. I feel like it's you're on cords or something, or you're on rims or something, just sliding around. So we typically bump the tires up when we do our videos and do stuff. We're on comfort mediums, comfort softs, sometimes sport hards, depending on the car, to set up the situation. Just what feels grippy to us. We like to try to make it feel a little more realistic to us. But for the community at large, we know the tire is comfort hard that everybody adheres to. So I did this tune on comfort hard. We stuck on that. We got some traction out of it, and it's working out pretty nice. So that's once again up to you as well. Brake balance. Let's get on down here. I went on ahead and threw it to the back, not all the way. You don't want to 100% throw it to the rear. But once again, the nature of the car's stock, how it wants to spin around itself coming from the front, how the front is so anchored. I went on ahead and rolled it to the back so it wouldn't just grab the front end so hard and cause a spin out in that fashion, or just get you all out of whack there. So you can play with the brake balance. I rolled it to the back. I said that, and this isn't going to be the final tune. I'm going to be tweaking with this on and on, trying to see what's going on and get the best setup possible. But for now, that's good. So on to the next. We're now going to go on to the ride height. So the ride height, we got it at 4.88 in the front, 4.76 in the rear. I know it's customary to just slam cars to the bone, but you know, you got to have some suspension travel. You might come up with a combination that's a little lower. You know, I might be playing with it later to try to get it a little, you know, as low as possible without bottoming out the suspension. And you know, it's actually, you know, if I can find one of the videos of it, I'll upload it. In real life, I had a problem with my car, and Lex had a problem with his vert at the time where it was too low. My car, like when I first brought it out, it was when I first put the coilovers on, I set it too low, and it started just biting the it just tore the insides of the tires out, just blew the treads off, you know, just was biting the frame and hitting the control arms and everything, and it was terrible. So that's a common mistake a lot of people make when they first get into the situation. They slam everything to the ground, which is a stylish thing, but it's not functional most of the time in real life. So you got to have a little clearance there. Your suspension has to be able to do what you're trying to have it to do. So make sure you got adequate clearance. Like I said, it's kind of low, but it's not totally slammed. So 4.88 in the front, 4.76 in the rear. Then your frequency, which is essentially your spring rate. We went with 1.73 in the front, which I believe is I played with that. I went up, I went down. I just got a nice little midpoint there on that, because you don't want too much understeer. You don't want, you know, too much grip. So and that might be something you can play with to get, you know, the right amount of grip that you want in the front as well. The rear is 1.88, about midways. Sometimes running too soft of a spring is a problem. I was running some softer springs earlier, and I went on ahead and brought it up a little bit. But the other components of your compression and your rebound mixed in properly, you can get a decent situation going. You don't always have to just flatten it out, or, you know, trying to run just full on FD, just sagging suspension. So we're 1.88 in the rear. All right, anti-roll bars. We got 7 in the front. We want that kind of stiff. We don't want it rolling too hard in the front. Sometimes that can soak up traction. Sometimes that can, you know, you can lose traction, like if you didn't have enough camber. I wanted it kind of stiff, so that, you know, if we put in a little bit of understeer to kind of, you know, get rid of some of that high-end front-end grip, that, you know, the car would hold up and not, you know, just sway into it and you know, counteract that. So we got 7 in the front, 3 in the rear, leaving it a little loose, letting it kind of soak up a bit, letting the body swing a bit and soak up the traction. What do we got here? So the compression, we got 64 in the front, and we got 60 in the rear, kind of a good midpoint. You don't want too much resistance with the suspension being able to compress when you're searching for traction. Though for the front, this is kind of a good midpoint right here. You don't want it to, once again, too stiff, too soft. It turned out to be a good midpoint, you know, taking into account your anti-roll bars and your spring rate and our rebounds. We come down to the rebounds. So we got 91 in the front on the dampening rebound, 94 in the rear. So as you see here, we didn't want to push down too hard on the pavement. We wanted to leave it a little loose, you know, because that can increase traction in that instance. So we want to make sure we just have a nice little amount of you know, scrub, just side lateral scrub. So that's a good point for that. 94 in the rear. That's try to get the wheels a little more planted, pushing outward on the ground there. So and we got some decent traction out of it doing that. So we go to the front, not too much camber in the front. 1.1, did not want to go overboard here, because once again, you end up getting too much traction. It'll spin around itself, and a lot of times, you know, setting the wheels up to where they catch the bank like that too much, you're gonna end up, you know, coming around. You're gonna have too much front traction. It's gonna spin you right around. Of course, you need some traction. You need some camber. You need to have some footprint on the ground so that you can steer, but you just don't want too much. So that works out for right now. I might play with that a little later and see what, you know, I probably can use a little bit more traction in the front. In the rear, same kind of deal. Well, not same kind of deal, I should say. Kind of the reverse of that. You want, in some instances, you don't want a lot of camber to where you're not getting a solid footprint on the ground to get the traction down. So you want to kind of keep it. You got to balance it out. You know, you have to see, and sometimes it depends on the track. You know, you might have a highly banked track and high speed track, and you want to, you know, turn the camber up some. But generally speaking, I want to keep some footprint on the ground so I don't turn it too high in most instances. So that seems to work out. All right, the toe, and this is where it gets a little wonky. This is where you're kind of just more tuning to what's happening in the game, you know, versus realism. You're just trying to get the car to you know, stop doing what you don't want it to do. So in this instance, you know, we don't want too sharp of a turn in, so we rolled back on the toe. We're at toe out 0.56. Move the arrow there so you guys can see. And in the rear, just 0.08. That kind of stabilized the car a bit, because, you know, most of these cars, as you know, when you get them here on GT, they're very snappy. They have a lot of turn in. They want to oversteer immediately, and you have to kind of just tune out the weird physics of what's going on when you get these cars a lot of the time. So that's just more of a balance thing to me, to get the car more neutral and not just whipping around like crazy, as everything is, but that's more so why you see sometimes some extremes with the toes. So as we go on down, LSD, played around with this, and we'll continue to. Right now, the best settings seem to be 56, 20, 50. That's LSD initial torque 56, LSD acceleration sensitivity 20, LSD braking sensitivity 50. And you can play around. You know, there's going to be different situations where you have the rear end, let's say, giving you too much. You know, it's locking too hard, and what can happen from that, you can get a lot of oversteer in some cases, depending on the car. Sometimes you need to roll back on that and have it a little more open, so it's not just pinwheeling when you hit the throttle. It's a balancing act. All of it is a balancing act to, you know, try to get a nice neutral setup that does what you want it to do. So the rear end is definitely a very important factor in that. The car did change up a lot with setting the rear end up. So have at that. And if we go on down, we will see that transmission is stock. That's open to anybody who wants to mess with it. I'm hoping it doesn't throw a sequential in when you put a customizable in, but we'll see what happens. I mean, in some cases that might be nice, but you know, they delete our clutch on wheels when we put a customizable transmission in, so it ends up being you know, a little disheartening sometimes. But nevertheless, you know, like I said, if you guys come up with something else, you guys got some good transmission tunes or anything like that, you know, hey, have at it. You know, let me know what's going on. I'd love to see in the comments if you guys improve upon the tune. And yeah, this is you know, I'll try it out. Maybe if somebody gets a really good one, I'll do another video on it, you know, give you a shout out, and hey, we'll see what's going on, man. So anyway, stay tuned. Definitely subscribe, turn on those notifications, share, let people know. We're gonna try to put it down this weekend. Definitely gonna see some tandems from this dirty ratchet thing, and I'm sure Lex is gonna do something with the FC RX-7, since that's his car in real life. So we're gonna definitely get down and bang some doors to death here this weekend, so stay tuned. Yeah, I'm out.